I'm about to eat crow, and we're not scared of that. Okay, final score in South Bend. Notre Dame 34, USC 24. We'll react to all of it. We'll break all of it down. But first things first, if you're a Notre Dame fan or you're a USC fan, still think there's a lot ahead of both programs. Definitely Notre Dame. You got your playoff hopes intact after that win last night. For USC, playoff hopes aren't dashed per se. Still a lot to play for, both in the context of this season and for the future in Los Angeles. But again, we'll break it down. Make sure you're subscribed if you're a fan of either team or you're just a college football sicko. Appreciate y'all for being locked in. So first things first, man. If you're new to this show, we value a lot of abilities. We value availability. We value flexibility, which I don't have a ton of, quite frankly, but we value probably as much as any ability, accountability. Here's the deal, man. I came on this show on Tuesday. I said, I think USC is going to win. Clearly, that was not the case. Were there paths for USC to win? Sure. But to stare into the barrel of this camera and tell you the truth, Notre Dame won the football game. I was wrong. You're smart. I'm dumb. All right? So I'm going to eat this crow. That's the USDA approved amount and then some. That's kind of how it goes, man. So, Notre Dame won the football game. And crow doesn't taste good. Black licorice flavored crow, just so you're all in the know here. The stuff that Notre Dame did tangibly was impressive. Like, you run for 300 yards as a football team. Jeremiah Love goes for over 2 bills at the office. That's impressive. And we knew Notre Dame had that in the bag, but to see it play out the way that it did, to me, was a bit jarring. C.J. Carr, I think he would tell you, didn't even play like his best ball, and the offense scored 34 points. What Notre Dame did tangibly was impressive. I don't think that needs to have too much discussion with it. The defense, yeah, you got beat a little bit on the back end, but you chose your fate. USC, you're not going to run the football on us like you did against Michigan. If you want to throw it, be our guest, but like we're going to battle in the back and we'll live that way. We'll play man coverage. We'll have our back and forth competitive plays. If you beat us that way, more power to you, but we don't think you can beat us that way, and they didn't. So that's the tangible part that I think is pretty obvious and doesn't need a ton of unpacking, but should just be noted. That running game for Notre Dame is going to keep them, I believe, in every football game, and I think we'll put them in a spot where they are a college football playoff team. But as impressive as that is, to me, it's the intangibles that gave me the most confidence in Notre Dame. Because last year's team for the Irish was so impressive because they got into playoff mode after week 2 and just went on a freaking tear. And I think a big part of that was the leadership. From Al Golden, your DC, to Xavier Watts, your safety, to Jack Kaiser in the middle of that defense, to Riley Leonard. There was a lot of leadership last year that pulled that team together after the NIU loss and said, okay, we got to go now, boys. We have zero margin. We got to go win out. And the leadership created the urgency for Notre Dame to be a college football playoff team. So my question openly, to the tune of picking USC in this game, was that's great that Marcus Freeman's still the head coach, and I will never question Marcus Freeman, but I do question, hey, what's it going to be like now when you have to play another roster that can actually beat you? Because you beat up on NC State, you beat up on Boise State, but guess what? You have to play another team now that is maybe not as talented as you, but talented enough to where if you're not on your P's and Q's, you just saw what they did to Michigan, right? Like, USC is good enough to beat you if you're not able to step under that heavy bar effectively and go play your best ball. And there was a point there where you kind of saw Notre Dame calibrating maybe a little bit with the C.J. Carr red zone pick and all those things. But by and large, man, like Notre Dame met that moment from an intangible perspective. They won those competitive plays, forcing the fumble on the trick play with Mekhi Lemon and the reverse pass they were trying to do for USC. I told you about the kick they ran back, the way the offense moved the football on the ground and just freaking punched USC in the face over and over. Notre Dame intangibly met that spot. And that, to me, is all I need to see to say they're now going to be a college football playoff team. If we're late to the party, but I think with what we saw yesterday, that feels pretty fair to say they should do. Should, a funny word in college football right now, but that's what Notre Dame should be, and yesterday gave me a lot of confidence for that, for what the Irish are going to be here. Now for USC, I think it's important to take the good and the bad from where you are right now in the context of this season. USC can win out and make the college football playoff. That can happen. Will that happen? There's uphill battle at Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa, at Oregon, UCLA. Okay, like that's a bit of a gauntlet here. I think USC, if they play their best football, can compete in any of those games. The Oregon game on the road is going to be tricky, but outside of every other game, I think every other game is extremely winnable. But here's my thing. Watching the game yesterday for USC, as bad as it was up front, and to see them get pushed around by Notre Dame, I think they put themselves in position as a football team to seize some of those moments that would have made the difference in the game. Now, they didn't seize those moments, and that's the next step. But you go up in that game with a deep shot in the second half to Jacoby Lane, and you score, and it's like, okay, here we go. Can't cover a kick correctly. Notre Dame runs it back. Momentum swings back towards them. Then you get the football with a chance to go tie after they missed a field goal against you, and you got a chance to go tie or take the lead, and then you have the competitive play error where you fumble the football and Notre Dame recovers and like it goes back the other way. So I don't think that should be discounted how much USC battled in this game. And I'm not saying, oh, good effort, good for you for showing up, USC. But I'm saying, like, we see the actual progress from USC, and it's unfortunate you don't have the tangible result here, and it's unfortunate that box roll looks how it does when it comes to you defending the run. But I'm still seeing a slow progress for USC, but the reality is you're not there yet. And I think yesterday was a good indicator as to how far away they are. Now, I also think we should mention Notre Dame is the measuring stick for USC. Like, USC is not aiming to be middle of the Big Ten when it comes to defending the run. Like, USC expects to be one of the best line of scrimmage football teams in America with how they're spending, with the way they're trying to build that side of the football, with how they're recruiting, all that. And so when you have those inputs, you expect those outputs. They're still on the input side of things with Chad Bowden, their GM there, and Jen Cohen, the AD, and getting their ducks in a row resource-wise. Like, they're still, I think, in the building part of that. So yesterday, if nothing else, was a good measuring stick as to how far off USC is, because that's the best running back room in college football. You could argue one of the better O-lines in college football. The emphasis, though, on USC down the stretch here is huge for playoff implications. We already talked about that. I think it's as important now for USC to look the part here down the stretch. Like at Nebraska, Iowa, at Oregon, those line of scrimmage football teams, you can't have another showing like this. Because if you do, the feeling becomes, well, what was Michigan? Because the Michigan game, we had a lot of good vibes, ran for over 200 yards, looked good on the ground against Michigan. But how real was that when we go on the road to Oregon and they run for 200 against us after Notre Dame went for 300 against us? If Nebraska runs for 200, so it's very important now for USC not just to win those games, but to also look the part, to check that box again going forward here that the arrow is pointing up, to keep that recruiting class intact and to show this whole thing is heading in the right direction under Lincoln Riley. I think it is. I'm not letting last night and the performance totally discredit what the Michigan game was, but if we see a similar sample size from other teams down the stretch, it's going to be hard to ignore that. So Notre Dame, walk that tightrope. You're a playoff team. USC, went out. You're a playoff team. But bottom line, this game needs to continue to be played. Netflix, Hulu, Roku, Fubo, I don't care. Make sure this game keeps happening. Another conversation for another time, but I had to say that at the end of this breakdown. Appreciate y'all being locked in. SC and Notre Dame fans, let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. Cato on the ones and the twos, myself, JD PicKell. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We will keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.